My younger brother Jack and I have always been thick as thieves. After our parents passed, I practically raised him, putting him through college and helping him find his footing in life. Meanwhile, I had built a successful hospitality empire with multiple venues, a catering company, and a chain of luxury hotels across 3 states. When Jack announced his engagement to Sophia, a woman from old money, I was thrilled for him. But something changed after he met her family. The brother I knew started to disappear before my eyes. Before I tell you how I discovered my family wedding invitations were canceled, let me know where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever had family betray you. I have always been a self-made man. Starting when I was 16 years old, I would wake up at 4 in the morning to help set up at a local bakery before school. By 18, I was managing the place. Life was tough but straightforward until tragedy struck. When I was 21 and Jack was 17, our parents died in a horrific car accident on their way home from their anniversary dinner. In an instant, I became responsible for my younger brother. The life insurance barely covered the funeral expenses. With no other close family except our Aunt Martha, who was already struggling financially with her own 3 kids, I made the hardest decision of my life. I put my own college plans on hold indefinitely and took on 3 jobs to ensure Jack could still attend university. He was brilliant with a natural talent for business and marketing. There was no way I would let his potential go to waste. Those early years were difficult but strengthened our bond. I still remember helping Jack move into his dorm room at Westmore University, an elite school known for its business program. As we unpacked his things, he turned to me with tears in his eyes. "Ian, you should be the one attending this school, not me," he said quietly. I shook my head and placed my hand on his shoulder. "And waste that big brain of yours. No way. You are going to graduate top of your class, and then we will figure out my education." Deal. Jack graduated with honors, just as I predicted. By then, I had saved enough to open my first small event venue, an intimate converted warehouse space that quickly gained popularity for weddings and corporate events. Jack joined me in the business after graduation, and together we expanded. Within 10 years, we had created Hartwell Hospitality Group, with 3 exclusive wedding venues, a high-end catering company, and a small chain of boutique hotels that were consistently rated among the best in the country. Through all the success, Jack and I remained close. We had Sunday dinner together every week, either at my place or his, and talked almost daily. That is why the changes after he met Sophia were so jarring. It was at one of our hotels, the Lakeside Manor, where Jack met her. She was coordinating a charity gala for her family foundation, and Jack was overseeing the event on our end. When he first told me about her, his eyes lit up in a way I had never seen before. "She is different from anyone I have ever met, Ian," he said during one of our Sunday dinners. "Smart, driven, compassionate. And get this, she actually appreciated hearing about how we built everything from nothing. Most women from her background would run for the hills when they hear I grew up sharing a bedroom with my brother in a 2-bedroom apartment." Sophia seemed perfect. When Jack introduced us a month into their relationship, she was warm and engaging, asking thoughtful questions about our journey, and seeming genuinely impressed by what we had accomplished. The proposal came 6 months later. I had never seen my brother so happy, and I immediately offered our premier venue, Crystal Lake Estate, as an engagement gift. It was our most exclusive property, booked solid for 2 years in advance, but I would rearrange mountains for my brother. I could not possibly accept that Jack protested when I made the offer. Nonsense. What good is owning the most beautiful wedding venue in the state if I cannot give it to my only brother? I had insisted, and the gratitude in his eyes had been worth every penny of revenue we would lose by bumping another booking. The problems began when we met Sophia's parents, Richard and Margaret Wellington. From old money with social connections that spanned generations, they hosted us for dinner at their country club shortly after the engagement. From the moment we sat down, the subtle condescension began. "So Ian," Richard said, swirling his 30-year-old scotch, "Jack tells us you are in the event planning business." "Among other things," I replied pleasantly. "We have venues, catering, and hotels." Margaret raised a perfectly manicured eyebrow. "How?" "Entrepreneurial. I suppose that is one way to get invited into certain circles." I noticed Jack shifting uncomfortably beside me. To my surprise, when Margaret asked about our childhood, Jack gave an edited version that conveniently left out the tiny apartment and the years I worked multiple jobs. Instead, he spoke vaguely about modest beginnings and family investments. After that dinner, Jack began to change. He started canceling our regular Sunday dinners. When I would call, he would cut conversations short. Invitations to family gatherings were met with excuses about being busy with wedding planning. When we did see each other, he seemed different, guarded as if measuring every word. I tried not to take it personally. Planning a wedding is stressful, and blending two families even more so. When Jack mentioned they were expanding the guest list and would need additional services beyond what I had offered, I immediately made a $65,000 deposit to cover expanded catering, premium bar services, and accommodations for out-of-town guests. "This is too much," Jack had protested weakly. "Nothing is too much for my only brother," I had replied, hugging him. That was the last real conversation we had. As the wedding date approached, Jack became increasingly difficult to reach. My calls went straight to voicemail. Our Aunt Martha noticed the distance too. "Have you and Jack had some kind of falling out?" she asked during a family dinner that Jack had once again missed. "No, nothing like that," I assured her. "He is just caught up in wedding preparations. You know how these big society events can be." But deep down, I was worried. Something was wrong, but I could not put my finger on what. Little did I know the truth was far worse than anything I could have imagined. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, 6 weeks before the wedding. I was in my office reviewing plans for our newest hotel property when my assistant mentioned someone named Natalie was on the phone regarding Jack's wedding. "Ian Hartwell speaking," I answered. "Mr. Hartwell, this is Natalie Burke, the wedding planner for the Wellington Hartwell wedding." Her voice had an awkward edge to it. "There seems to be a misunderstanding about the guest list that I wanted to clear up directly." "What kind of misunderstanding?" I asked, already feeling a sense of unease. "Well," she hesitated, "according to the final guest list I received from Miss Wellington, your family members are not included." I wanted to verify if this was an oversight before sending the final invitations. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. That must be a mistake. I am the brother of the groom. I understood that, which is why I called. But Miss Wellington was quite specific that the Hartwell family relatives were removed from the list at the request of both families. Both families? That is impossible. Jack would never agree to that. My mind was racing. "When was this decision made?" "About 3 weeks ago. Mr. Hartwell, your brother was present when the changes were made." I thanked her curtly and immediately called Jack. It went straight to voicemail, as it had increasingly done over the past few months. I sent a text, "Need to talk about the wedding guest list, as soon as possible." After an hour, with no response, I called Sophia. No answer there either. Finally, Jack sent a brief text. "It is complicated. I will explain later." Later was not good enough. I left work and drove straight to the apartment Jack and Sophia shared. As I approached their door, I could hear raised voices inside. Instead of knocking immediately, I paused, hearing Sophia clearly through the partially open window. "Your family does not fit with our vision, Jack. My parents have invited the governor, 2 senators, and the Andersons, who basically fund half the arts programs in the state. We cannot have your Aunt Martha talking about her coupon cutting and thrift shop finds. They are my family," Sophia, Jack replied, but his voice lacked conviction. "And I am going to be your family. If you want to be part of my world, some sacrifices have to be made. Besides, your brother will understand. He is a businessman." "What about the deposit he made? The $65,000. Daddy says we can just consider it your contribution to the wedding. After all, my parents are spending nearly $500,000. I backed away from the door, feeling sick to my stomach. The brother I had sacrificed everything for was standing in that room, allowing his fiancée to cut me and the rest of our family out of his wedding, all while keeping the significant financial gift I had given them. The next day, I did something I had never done before. I used my business connections to get access to the Wellington Country Club and confronted Richard Wellington on the golf course. "Mr. Hartwell," he said coolly, when I approached him between holes. "This is a private club." "How did you get in here?" "I have my ways," I replied calmly. "I want to discuss why my family has been removed from my brother's wedding guest list." Richard sighed and motioned his golf partners to continue without him. Look, young man, no offense, but we are hosting a certain caliber of event. The governor will be there, important business connections, people of influence. And my family is not of sufficient caliber. The words tasted bitter. We have done our research. Your aunt shops at discount stores. Your cousin Tony is a plumber. Another cousin has tattoos visible above her collar. Surely you understand that they would be uncomfortable in our social circle. And the $65,000 deposit I made, I understand you intend to keep. That Richard had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. We have already adjusted budgets based on that contribution. Sophia father is paying for the bulk of this wedding, so your brother agreed it would be equitable. I left the country club with my mind reeling. That evening, I called a family meeting at my home, excluding Jack. Everyone was there, our Aunt Martha, our cousins, close family friends who had been there for us after our parents died. Did you all know about being cut from the wedding, I asked. The uncomfortable silence was all the answer I needed. We suspected something was wrong, Martha finally admitted. We never received, save the dates, and when I asked Jack about it, he was vague. Then, last week, he called to say they were keeping it very small, just immediate family. But you are immediate family, I pointed out. That is what I said. Then he explained that they were limiting it to parents only due to venue restrictions. The venue is my property, I said flatly. There are no restrictions. One by one, they shared similar stories. My cousin Tony had been uninvited from the bachelor party at the last minute. Another cousin had been told the bridal shower was canceled, only to see pictures of it on social media later. They had all kept quiet, not wanting to cause problems for Jack. I spent a sleepless night weighing my options. Part of me wanted to support Jack no matter what, to let him have the high society wedding he apparently wanted now. Another part, the part that remembered every sacrifice I had made, every late night worked to put him through college, could not stomach the betrayal. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I asked Natalie Burke, the wedding planner, to meet me at my office above the flagship Hartwell Hotel in downtown. She arrived precisely on time, clutching a leather portfolio and looking nervous. "Thank you for meeting with me," I said, gesturing to a chair across from my desk. "I would like to review the complete details of my brother wedding arrangements." Her discomfort was visible, but professionally she opened her portfolio. "Of course. As you know, the ceremony and reception will be held at Crystal Lake Estate. We have scheduled the rehearsal dinner at the Lakeside restaurant, with guests staying primarily at the Wellington Hotel in town." I nodded slowly, taking in the information. Crystal Lake Estate was my property, my most exclusive venue. The Lakeside was my award-winning restaurant. And the Wellington Hotel, despite its name, was part of my boutique hotel chain. Jack had arranged to use all my businesses without my knowledge, while cutting me out of the event itself. "May I see the contracts for these arrangements?" I asked. "Of course," she said, sliding them across the table. None mentioned my connection to the properties. They had been handled by managers who would not necessarily know Jack was my brother if he did not mention it. As we were reviewing the details, Natalie's phone rang. She glanced at it and looked uncomfortable. "You can take it," I said. "It is Miss Wellington, about the wedding. Put it on speaker." When she hesitated, I added, "Please." She placed the phone on the table between us. "Hello, Sophia. I am actually in a meeting right now, but if this is quick." "Nothing about this wedding is quick." Natalie's Sophia voice came through sharp and impatient. "I need you to call the venue about changing the layout. I visited yesterday, and I hate how they have the seating arranged for the ceremony. Tell them I want the chairs in a semicircle, not straight rows. And the owner needs to understand that if they cannot accommodate this, we will take our business elsewhere next time." Natalie's eyes widened as she looked at me. I shook my head slightly, indicating she should continue normally. "I will certainly speak to the venue owner," Natalie replied carefully. "Good. Make it clear that Daddy has a lot of influence and knows people who book events. They should be falling over themselves to accommodate us." I leaned forward. "Actually, Sophia, the venue owner, is on the line right now." There was a moment of stunned silence. "Who is this?" Sophia demanded. "Ian Hartwell, owner of Crystal Lake Estate, the Lakeside Restaurant, and the Wellington Hotels. And the brother, who was apparently not good enough to be invited to his own brother wedding." The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. Ian, I can explain, she finally stammered. No need. I understand perfectly. And I have made a decision. Cancel the entire wedding. You cannot do that. Sophia's voice rose an octave. Do you know who my father is? Perfectly aware. I met him on the golf course yesterday. But Sir Natalie interjected, clearly distressed. You are not the bride or groom. You do not have the authority to cancel. No, I agreed calmly. But I do own the venue, the catering company, and the hotel chain they booked for guests. And according to the contracts I am looking at right now, I have every right to cancel for breach of terms. Sophia was practically screeching now. This is outrageous. I am calling my father. We will sue you into the ground. Feel free. And while you are at it, please call Jack. I think we all need to have a conversation. My office, 1 hour. I ended the call and looked at Natalie, who appeared shell-shocked. I apologize for involving you in this, I said sincerely. I had no idea, she whispered. The contracts came through standard channels. I never connected that you were the brother Jack, mentioned occasionally. The next hour was the longest of my life. But precisely 60 minutes later, my assistant announced the arrival of Jack, Sophia, and her parents. I asked Natalie to stay as a witness. Jack entered first, his face ashen. Ian, what is going on? Before I could answer, Sophia burst in her father Richard close behind. How dare you threaten our wedding? Do you have any idea the embarrassment this would cause? Less embarrassment than finding out on the wedding day that the brother of the groom was not invited. I imagine, I replied coldly. Jack looked between us, confusion evident. Ian, I was going to explain everything after the wedding. It is not what you think. I think I heard your fiancée quite clearly state that our family does not fit with your vision. I think I heard her dismiss Aunt Martha, who took us in after our parents died. I think I discovered that you plan to use my properties for your wedding while excluding me from attending. Richard Wellington stepped forward. Now see here, young man. We have contracts. You cannot simply cancel everything on a whim. Actually, I can. Every contract your daughter signed includes a morality and ethics clause. Deliberately misleading the owner about the nature of the event constitutes a breach. We never misled anyone, Sophia protested. Really? You did not think it was important to mention that you were excluding the owner family from an event at his own property. After accepting a $65,000 deposit from him, Jack paled further. The deposit. I told you we needed to return it, Sophia. Daddy said it was fine. Richard Wellington cleared his throat. Perhaps we can come to some arrangement. Name your price to reinstate the wedding plans. I looked at him incredulously. This is not about money. Everything is about money, he scoffed. 100,000, 200,000, this is about loyalty, about family, about remembering where you came from and who was there for you when you had nothing, I said, looking directly at Jack. This is about a brother who worked 3 jobs so you could attend an Ivy League university, who skipped meals sometimes so you could have new textbooks, who postponed his own dreams so yours could flourish. Jack's eyes filled with tears. Ian, I need a moment alone with my brother, I said firmly. Everyone else, please wait outside. Sophia started to protest, but Richard took her arm and led her out. Natalie followed, closing the door behind her. For a long moment, Jack and I just stared at each other. The sleek office, with its view of the city skyline, suddenly felt very small. Why, I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Jack sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. I got caught up in it all, he said, his voice breaking. The Wellingtons, their world, their connections. It was like stepping into a different universe. At first, I was just trying to fit in, to make small adjustments so I would not embarrass Sophia. Since when is our family embarrassing? They have different standards, different expectations. Everything became about appearances. When Sophia's parents started suggesting changes to the guest list, I told myself it was temporary, that I would fix it later. And the deposit. You were just going to let them keep $65,000 of my money without telling me I was not even invited. Tears were streaming down Jack's face now. I told Sophia we had to return it. She said her father would handle it. Every time I tried to stand up to them, they would remind me how much they were spending, how many important connections they were sharing with me. And that was worth betraying your family, the people who were there for you when you had nothing. No, Jack whispered, looking up at me. Nothing is worth that. I see that now. I got lost, Ian. I forgot who I was, where I came from. What do you want, Jack? Not what Sophia wants, not what her parents want. What do you want? He was quiet for a long moment. I want my brother back, he finally said. I want Sunday dinners and reminiscing about Dad terrible jokes and Mom trying to bake. I want family that loves me, for me, not for what doors I can open, or how I present to their friends. He took a deep breath. I do not want to marry Sophia. I nodded slowly. Then you need to tell her that. Not for me, but for yourself. What followed was one of the most painful hours of our lives. Sophia raged, threatening lawsuits and social destruction. Her father alternated between bribes and threats, but Jack stood firm, finally finding the strength to end the engagement. As they stormed out, Sophia turned at the door. You will regret this. Both of you. No one walks away from a Wellington. Actually, Jack replied quietly. A Hartwell just did. After they left, I asked Natalie to begin the process of canceling all the arrangements. Then I wrote a check for $65,000 and handed it to Jack. I cannot take this, he protested. It is your money now. Take some time, figure out what you really want. The job at Hartwell Group will always be there, but maybe you need to find your own path for a while. 6 months later, we held a family reunion at my lake house. Jack was there, looking more relaxed than he had in years. He had spent some time traveling, then returned to work with me, but in a different capacity, focusing on our charitable foundation that helped siblings who were raising siblings after family loss. As we sat around the fire pit that evening, Aunt Martha raised her glass. To family. The real kind. Jack caught my eye across the flames. I almost lost sight of what really matters, he said. I got caught up in what I thought was a dream, only to realize I already had everything I needed. The experience changed me too. While my business continued to grow, I refocused on what truly mattered, the people who had been there from the beginning. Money and status mean nothing if you lose yourself and your roots along the way. Jack is dating someone new now, a kindergarten teacher with a warm laugh who bakes cookies for our family dinners. And me, I am still building my empire, but with a clearer understanding of its purpose. Success is meaningless without people to share it, with people who knew you before the success came. Have you ever had to choose between success and family? What would you have done in my position? Share in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe if you want to hear more stories about standing up for what is right. Like this video if you believe family should come first, and share it with someone who might need a reminder about what truly matters in life. Thank you for listening, and remember, the family that stands together can weather any storm.